Check 1 2. Check 1 2 3. Check 1 2 3 4.
Subscriber.
What's up, Popcorn? Thank you so much for the sub. Appreciate it. Hope you're doing well. What's up, everyone? What's going on? Popcorn, Cindy, Morph. What up? What up? Oh man, it's been an interesting day already. Oh, I got my new vinyl mailers that arrived today, and I was lifting. There's something funny about ordering cardboard, and it arrives inside of cardboard, and then you throw away the cardboard that was the packaging cardboard, but the cardboard you wanted to buy, you keep. It's just kind of a silly concept to me. I wish there was a way to I don't know. I don't have the time to cut all of the packaging cardboard that's usable still into pieces that might help. But anyways, so I'm getting closer and closer to being done with all the twofold vinyls and getting them shipped out. I think I have about 200 more to go, and then I'm done. Sounds like I might have some family coming over to help me out for about an hour or two. Oh my God, wait, okay, before we get into Feedback Friday though, even though there's some news about some tornadoes coming this way potentially tonight, Cone Sound is playing in Milwaukee, which is home turf for me, so I'm going to be hanging with the boys.
We got a new follower.
Which I'm really stoked about. Nahi, what's up? Thank you for the follow. But yeah, hopefully weather complies. We've had some floodings and tornadoes and all sorts of crazy stuff going on here. Cone Sound, yeah, I know it's gonna be sweet. But anyways, good to see you all here. It is Friday, Feedback Fridays. We are going to listen to what you guys have been cooking up. Let me mute my phone. Actually, hold on. Should I bring empanadas? Yes, that would be awesome. Empanadas and packing vinyls. Hey, I mean, as long as we keep them separate, it should be fine. I don't want anybody's fingers touching the vinyls or the packaging. But anyways, Haywyre, did you see Justice at the Armory last year? No, I've never seen Justice before live. I'd love to. I'm actually going to quite a few shows coming up though, so I'm trying to go to more concerts. I'm going to see Bob Moses next week. I'm probably seeing Cone Sound tonight. I'm seeing Rufus. The problem is Milwaukee doesn't have a lot of electronic music acts rolling through town, so vinyl smelling like empanadas are what I need now. Well, I can make an exception for you if you're one of the orders that's left. If you want vinyls scented like empanadas, I could make that happen for you. But for everyone else, that is we're not going to do that. Okay, so what's up, Nahi? I see you are a first-time chatter. Welcome. And just I know we're getting started slowly here, but ! join allows you to enter the raffle, and it's a random raffle. There's no weighted probabilities or anything, so you don't get more likely to be chosen, as a lot of you know, just by being subscribed or following. It's all random. So you want to listen to Danger V5 on the Run or Till You Meet Again? Well, considering I don't know what any of those sound like, I'll just randomly choose one when we get to you. Let's start with Morph. What's going on? How's it going? What you got for us today, Morph? I should have switched over to my desktop view. Oh my gosh, wait. Why does it do this? Give me a moment. Sorry about that. Where desktop audio. Okay. Alerts, chat, image, Mac OS screen. Give me 1 second here, y'all. Properties, display capture, window capture, display capture. There we go. All right, we're back. I have something, but the wave was messed up. I know how that goes. No worries. Um, how do you share your music? A lot of people use private SoundCloud links. You could use Disco, you could use Dropbox, Google Drive. You could mail me a QR code that requires a survey to be filled out in order to access a private link, whatever you want. Although if you were to do that, that'd probably take some time. Um, let's see. Should we come back to you, Morph, or like how long do you think the render might take? We're not really in a huge rush. There's only 4 names in the raffle right now, so I think just putting it on SoundCloud. Okay, yeah, we're good. We'll wait for you. But yeah, I hope you guys are doing well. I hope you're ready for your weekend. I really hope that Milwaukee doesn't get hit by any tornadoes tonight. I really want to go see Cone Sound. I haven't seen them since I was on tour with them. I believe like 6, 7 years ago. Jesus Christ, that was 7 years ago. That's actually insane to me. Wow. Yeah, no genre restrictions. Send whatever you want. We've had a lot of variety, but it tends to be electronic music. But yeah, I feel like you can share whatever you want. We've had some pretty crazy stuff. What was that like? I still remember this industrial, like there's some kind of like industrial, just mega distorted tech house type thing that somebody submitted once, and I was like, wow, this is a genre of music that I've never heard of. And yeah, I can't say it was my favorite experience, but how are you going to know if you like it or not if you don't try it, right? That doesn't always work with everything, but it does work with music, I feel like. But yeah, there's let's see, there's 5 people in the queue. We're just waiting on Morph to share a link. And then we shall begin listening. Oh, what's up, Control 4? How's it going? All right. Track number 1. Let's see what we got here. Return to form. Oh, that's cool. Wait, actually, I like that as a branding idea for you, Morph. It's like when you have track titles with the what would traditionally be spelled with an F, you switch it out with PH. That's a cool idea. very cool. I like it. I think that I like the emotional energy in that chord progression, and the little riffs you got going in there. I like that piano patch, like library as well. It reminds me a little bit of like the Keyscapes felt piano type stuff, which I'm definitely quite fond of. Like the double felt. It's nice. I think that overall, just like the ebb and flow is good. The arrangement is nice. I think that my biggest gripe with it so far is probably more on the like production end. It feels like when you're working with this much negative space, actually, I think I had some similar feedback to someone just last week or the week before. When you have that much negative space in a song, you are walking like a tightrope, right? Where, like, if you have a few too many sounds going on, then it ruins the effect of like the negative space, right? But if you have too little, there's not enough for people to cling to feel like there's enough of a groove and momentum kind of going on to carry the track forward. So for me right now, I feel like it's a little bit more on the sparse side right now, and there's room for more of that empty space to be filled in. For example, some things that I really like doing is just throwing it could be, basically any element, with a ton of reverb that's kind of like squashed in just for one beat. So for example, like the rim shot hits and you just hear this big splash of reverb, like ka, boom, dun, 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 boom, boom, dun, ka. And things like that are fun. And doing reverses into, drum hits with Foley, and I think building out little details like that could be nice. What's up, Arvin? First time chatter. Thanks for joining. And the other thing too is it kind of felt like that. There's a couple other small things. So the voicing, it's interesting to go for like a Dorian voicing there. I would personally not lean into that that major sixth for the D minor. Like to me, the chord progression sounds more pleasing when you kind of focus on 3, 5, and 7. So like a voicing like something like that would be nice potentially. So like 1, 7, and then like a 3 up top or whatever. You can add the octave to that if you want. But I feel like that would be like, this to me seems a little bit more pleasing. Versus like but anyways, it's just some food for thought. It depends on what you're going for. So of course, like if you disagree with me, it's your tune. So I can't stop you. But yeah, there's a few other things I wanted to point out too. It sounds like that hi-hat has some reverb on it that is throwing me off a little bit, just because everything is super dry here, and I think that is helping. It's helping me see like the vision in terms of lots of negative space, like having this kind of like really unnaturally dry feeling, which I love it when people play with that, like controlling the space that it sounds like the song is in. And I think that the hi-hat is kind of ruining that effect for me a little bit, because the reverb on that hi-hat seems to be the only thing that I can tell that has some reverb on it. But I think maybe those synths have reverb too on them, but I think they do. Yeah, I'm hearing a little bit of a tail now that I'm listening closer. So that's another thing for you to consider, is like I feel like, again, for like a negative space type drop, controlling reverb is so much fun, and it's really important, I think, for pulling these things off, where you could have the reverb off and then kind of automate it in different ways, leading into these like significant hits, where, like, let's say a kick drum is happening, it can like lead into that and then cut off. Could lead into a rim shot and cut off, and yeah. So just some more food for thought. And I think the more you find ways to fill in the gaps without it becoming like overly complicated and distracting the listener a bunch, the more interesting and convincing I think the idea will become. So this is the Lab Soft piano. Okay, sick. That's crazy that that's free. I like that. Disregard that piece at the end. I just realized that I kind of did that subconsciously, because I kind of figured that was a misrender. But cool. Thanks for sharing, Morph. It's a really cool idea, and it's I'm trying to think of artists who pull off the whole negative space thing really well. I can't think of that many, and really and especially like in that style, right? Because like Cohen Sound, they're incredible at working with silence and negative space in their music, but it's a totally different kind of a genre, so it's not necessarily the greatest reference point. But good luck with finishing the tune, Morph. I like it a lot. Keep us updated. Let's roll on to the next person. Lotzi, appreciate it, dude. Yeah, of course. Lotzi, what's going on? What you got for us? Okay, we got the link ready to go. Track number 2 for the day. Let's say what we're cooking with. Cool. I like it. It feels like it has a solid arrangement for the most part. I think there's probably room potentially somewhere in the middle to kind of omit the drums for a bit. Did kind of feel like it did feel quite repetitive at some points. That's not necessarily a bad thing though. So one sec. Well, I think a lot of the sound selection, sound design is nice. It feels like a pretty cohesive kind of world. The detuning. Also, what was the deal with that BPM automation? That caught me off guard. It like slowed down. I was expecting some kind of switch up, and then it just sped back up to the original tempo. Where was that? Okay, I don't know where it was, but that cracked me up. The BPM change was like going on your first day to find out that the party never showed up. So I think that I'm trying to think about what to focus on for feedback, because it's a good piece of music. You know, it's easy to listen to and to enjoy. It does feel a little bit kind of like it does feel a little bit passive listening at times, and there's nothing wrong with that because I can be a passive music enjoyer, I can be an active music enjoyer. So there's like more maximalist music styles where it's like, pay attention to what I'm doing some crazy stuff, and this is obviously more of a like, oh yeah, put it on while you're on like a road, an adventure on the road, or just having a dinner party with friends, or I don't know. So like it feels a little bit more on the passive listening kind of end to me. I like that detune synth, by the way, as well. So yeah, I think that you have a lot of variation going on in terms of like you have these little motifs kind of popping in, coming and going. And it's largely focused on like melodic motifs that are kind of like popping in and popping out. I think that when I think about the song overall, I think variation would be nice and more contrast between these different sections. So even here, this halftime section, I honestly almost forgot it went halftime because something that can help if you do want to commit to some kind of switch up like this is to alter other elements along with it as well. So essentially, to me, it sounds like almost the exact same sound design is carrying over, but the drums are in halftime. And I feel like it could be more effective as a switch up if you were to, consider altering other layers and sounds a bit more to kind of differentiate this section more. There's a million ways in which you could interpret that. You could like render out some of those sounds and chop them up and so that they like stutter in a certain rhythm instead of kind of just sustained. That's one thing that you could do, is like think about how these elements could maybe change rhythmically. And so instead of, hold on, let me turn this Valhalla off. So let's go to this section for a second. I'll turn this down a little bit. even just a little bit of rhythmic variation could help introduce something that feels like it's kind of communicating this idea that like, oh, something's changing here, you know. So again, just like contrast, variation, I think those are the big things that kind of stood out to me. And outside of that, maybe some like some kind of moment here as well eventually where the track has some breathing room as well. I think that just having drums kind of with like a relatively full spectrum kind of just going for, what is it, like 3.5 minutes? Almost 4 minutes. It's going to become a bit too repetitive, I think. So it might be nice to have another breakdown section somewhere where you could maybe go and introduce some more ambient elements. And I was enjoying actually playing a little bit of piano with a bunch of reverb on top in some sections as well. Maybe not here, but like... Like, maybe you could consider things like that in the second half as a way to differentiate the vibe here a bit more from here. I know you have some other sound design happening here, so I get that that's there. But, yeah, I don't know. Just some food for thought. But I appreciate you sharing, Lotzi. It's a cool tune, so thank you for sharing. This is almost 2 years old, and I can tell what it lacks. Word. All right, let's move on. What else we got? Tom Dune, what's going on? What's up? What's up? What you got for us? Let's snag this bad boy. Control 4, you are in. So let's check this out. Bass.
Nothing changed. I just know I'm done with this. I don't pause, I don't turn, I don't wait for it to hurt. If I disappear, don't look for me. I'm already gone. Before you see, no goodbye.
Very cool. Cool. Well, I think the lot of great stuff happening in terms of just like arrangement, the writing, cool sound design going on. Structure works quite well. I think that I'm trying to make sure I kind of focus on high level stuff first before trying to point out any kind of like more specific stuff. One thing that I thought was an interesting choice was to wait to introduce the vocals until after the first drop. It's not that it doesn't work. It's just an interesting choice. Because I liked the vocals. I liked the presence of the vocals in the song, and it made me wonder about whether or not that's the right call for the track to, not maybe have them pop in the intro. I mean, I get it because, in the intro you have some of these string sounds kind of dominating the mix. I don't think that those could kind of coexist. Let me check something out here. Yeah, the mix is like way more open here when the vocals pop in compared to this. Well, by the way, I think this might be my favorite part of the song, this little intro bit here. It sounds like the strings are kind of like format shifted or something. There's some, I don't know if it's like a sample or from a sample library or if it's an actual recording, but it's pretty cool. It almost sounds like it's sampled from something, but either way, things are kind of panned weird though, which is one thing that's kind of throwing me off at the moment. I thought I was kind of tripping out at first, but it sounds like it's kind of panned left. The strings, and there's some low end that also sounds like it's panned weird. I would double check to make sure that. To me, it feels funky to have it kind of emphasized on one side so heavily. So I would double check and make sure that those are more centered. I feel like panning is great for when it's kind of like serving a really short temporary purpose, like a fill, or in something like vocal takes where you want to have like these stacks of voices that are both like panned left and right at the same time, but when one side is kind of being dominated for a longer period of time like that, and it makes it feels a bit weird to me. Anyways, let's keep moving. So those are some things that kind of popped into my mind. I will say, I'm obviously not a German bass aficionado. Never really got into producing German bass, although I do like it a lot. One thing I noticed here, and this goes for pretty much a lot of EDM, I like foreshadowing a lot, and so I like hearing how people choose to transition from a build into a drop. So when I was listening to this build, so it's, to me, what I was expecting to hear was that a drop that kind of was doing that plucked sound. The dun 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 dun. I think that could have been really cool as well. To me, because of that writing, the more sustained approach is cool, but I wasn't as convinced by that, if I'm being completely honest. And part of that might be, the thing is, the sound design is cool. So it's not so much the sound design. For me, it's more like the writing of it's more of a writing thing, I guess. So yeah. I mean, I am hearing that rhythm here. Dun, 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 dun. I feel like I'm trying to think. There's some really cool Noisia tracks that play with that rhythm in drum and bass. I might also be thinking of like Imanu. Imanu might be a great reference for this style. He also does very, very kind of like well, I don't know. Yeah, if you know Imanu, you know what I'm saying. And let's see.
Don't look for me, I'm already gone. No trace when I'm lost.
Yeah, I don't know. The more I think about it, the more it feels like the sustained drop bass sound is great, and I think that has a place in the track for sure. But I'm not 100% sure about the decision to make that the first drop. Like maybe you could save like the sustained bass sounds for the second drop or something. I know you did halftime here, which I'm not trying to sound negative or anything. I'm just giving honest feedback here. I wasn't super convinced by that either. Because like there's a lot of really cool stuff going on here. Don't get me wrong, but it still feels to me a little bit underdeveloped. And I'm not sure about using the same drum sound design for the halftime section here as well. I think the halftime could be more effective if you had sound design that was like a bit more tuned to that specific section. Obviously you have some things here that we haven't heard before, but I'm talking about like not just the sound design in terms of basses and stuff, but also the drums maybe. Yeah, I just feel like there's room for improvement in the execution of this section. But yeah, I don't know. Even though the track works perfectly fine as is, there are a few arrangement decisions that I'm not 100% sure I agree with. So like I said, like the vocals popping in second half, not having them in the intro, kind of foreshadowing this rhythm that actually isn't in the drop, which is obviously a creative choice. You could kind of like catch people more off guard if you're not foreshadowing, what's happening in the drop in that way. But yeah, that's just I felt that's just where I was being led to, and it didn't turn into that, and that's totally fine. I think like obviously playing with listeners' expectations is something artists do all the time. So feel free to just disregard everything I just threw out there, but that's what I got for you. That being said, I feel like I spent like the whole time just kind of harping on things that I felt like were worth looking at again, and I just think it is a really cool tune. I'm a sucker for those kind of like what is it, Phrygian dominant or what's the freaking thing called? Yeah, Phrygian dominant. I was literally looking this up a few weeks ago, and I still had the tab open. Or wait, no, this isn't Phrygian dominant. Is it? Hold on. Should I switch the vocal and string parts? Well, it's tough to say because the string part is really cool. Okay, first of all, that little riff there is fire. I love that. That's so cool. But in terms of switching them, if you were to take a more traditional route with arrangement for a drum and bass track, then yeah, I think that would be the right choice. But yeah, I mean that's part of the weird thing about giving feedback, right? Is that like obviously I can tell the genre and the influences pretty much immediately by listening, but the decisions you make, obviously, everything is a creative decision at the end of the day when it comes to making music, right? So these are all decisions that are ultimately your call to make. Goes without saying. I'm just saying, like, it depends. It just depends on how you feel about it, whether any of what I said is making you, well, I don't want to make you second guess your decisions, right? But like, if you feel the structure is good as is, then you don't need to change anything, right? If it feels good to you, it feels good to you. And that's the most important thing. It's just that you're vibing with it, you're happy with it, and because yeah, I definitely wouldn't want you to go astray from that. That's kind of bottom line. But anyways, it's a sample library. Gotcha. Okay. Well, it's really cool. It's a great tune, and thanks for sharing, Tom. Appreciate it. Let's see what's going on, DJ Duck. All right, let's check this out. Sorry, this isn't that melodic. Don't apologize. I think it's great. Switch up the mood, something less melodic. Ooh. It's another Phrygian dominant track. Sick. Right, cool. That's so funny, man. You're a half step up, same mode as the last track, but just a half step up. Anyways, really cool tune. I think there's some good stuff going on here. Trying to think high level. The mix does feel a bit like it needs some tender love and care. Everything's sounding quite brick-walled, which is the impact in some of these sections is great. And I think that with a lot of EDM, it always helps to slap a little bit on there, kind of beef the loofs up and get a feeling for what it's going to sound like once you are partaking in the loudness war, But it does feel quite like there's some sections where there's like maybe a bit too much distortion for my taste, and things did kind of fall apart mix-wise a little bit here at the end as well for me. But yeah, I mean, the arrangement is cool. I like the chord progression. Some really, really cool choices arrangement-wise that I liked a lot. And, well, compositionally, those are obviously kind of like tied together. But like in this intro, you could probably tone down some of the mids by a good chunk here. And that vocal, I like it, but it's it needs to be kind of there needs to be something like a soothe to help control those peaks a bit more. It doesn't have to be soothe. I mean, you could use like maybe a multi-band compressor or something like that. There's some frequencies that are pretty harsh on the ears. You can hear them a bit better like later in the song. But yeah, lots of just like definitely some distortion happening here that I feel like is unnecessary or like a little bit too much for my taste. So this definitely it's building, obviously, lots of tension, and it sounds like we might be going to a drop here. I really liked this break. I think it's not quite at a final version in my mind, but I think I love unexpected, just like bass sound design popping in and just making you question, wait, where are things going? And all that reverb, I don't know why, but like hearing sounds like that going from like wet to dry is always an effective way to transition from a build to a drop. So when you hear sounds that are like catching you off guard and you're hearing like that, all that reverb, it gets me kind of excited because I'm like, oh, I feel like I can't wait to hear it go dry, and kind of get more up front in the mix. So then this section obviously pops in here. It wasn't quite what I was expecting, but it sounds really cool. I like that you are kind of like doing call and response here with the bass sound design, and then you're bringing the chords in after. It's an interesting choice, and I think it could work. I think it still needs some fine tuning. That being said, I wish there was like a little bit more of like a fill or something like going into the downbeat, because the downbeat really kind of like is like almost a little bit too unexpected. Like something that brings you to that downbeat. And then another thing I'll say about the drop here as well is that there's a pad you have going throughout the majority of the intro, and it sticks around in the drop here. You can hear it. And I don't think that it should be there, to be honest. It feels like that's more of an atmospheric, like, background element in the intro, and it's I just don't feel like it needs to be there in the drop. Or if you keep it there, maybe you could manipulate it rhythmically. I don't know. It's just some food for thought. But what else we got? I mean, this section is sounding pretty cool. I would try to maybe spend some more time on that B section where the chords pop in. And also, I would try to tighten up any, like, a lot of these sounds have long releases, so it could be helpful to bounce them if they're, let's say, like an omnisphere patch or something. You know, you bounce it, maybe cut off the audio, or just use like something like a utility to mute them once that downbeat for the next section of the drop comes in, because I think you want to really have those tight edits for the drop. And it's interesting because then you switch up the arrangement of the call and response, which I'm not sure how I feel about that. You start off. Hold on. Let me count it out. I think it's 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. Switch. 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. So every 2 measures. 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, now it's the other way around here. Which I'm not sure that that's a effective way to keep the energy going for the drop. I think it kind of like confuses the idea of like the call and response stuff. So I don't know. I'm not sold by the idea of, you know, switching up the structure of that. So you're doing like 2 measures, bass sound design, 2 measures of beautiful Phrygian dominant chords, 2 measures of bass sound design, 2 measures of chords, and then you switch it up and you go 2 measures of chords, 2 measures of bass sound design, 2 measures of chords, etc., etc. So I think it might be cooler to be more consistent with the call and response stuff. Otherwise, it might make it feel, I don't know, might make it feel like it's turning into something that it's harder to know what's the call and what's the response, I guess, but just some food for thought. It still sounds cool, so it's not like some kind of world-ending catastrophe. So you can also disregard that. Yeah, I would really pay attention to those harsh frequencies and those vocals. Definitely some multi-band compression, just kind of like a Pro MB or a Soothe or something would be really helpful for taming that. I like the idea of switching up to 4 to the floor here, instead of like the kind of like UKG style of sound design and drum sound design. But I'm not crazy about that kick drum. It's super mid heavy, tons of mids, and it's kind of dominating the mix in an unpleasant way. And the snare as well, it sounds like the mix is definitely suffering a bit here. Like, you could even just use these drums. I think these sound a little bit better in your mix than these do. You could just use these drums and go 4 to the floor. Maybe, or, you know, maybe use those drums to start making alterations and subtle changes to those, to kind of like give that 4 to the floor section maybe a different vibe. But either way, I think like these drums are probably not the way to go that in the form that they have right now. But it's a really cool idea. I really like it. I like that downbeat. That ride is cool too. I just noticed that. Another thing you could consider is that in call and response drops, it can really help to have more elements that create variation between the two to kind of like really communicate with the listener, like, hey, this is what part A sounds like, here's what part B sounds like. And I think it can help. The reason I say that is that, here, let's check out the drums again. So obviously there's that ride cymbal, but outside of that, the drums are basically exactly the same. Like, I wonder if maybe some kind of like or something like that, like a shaker or like a short little Foley sound that's like maybe like doing the 16th notes could be kind of cool for the B section. But yeah, anyways, that's all I got for you. Thank you for sharing, DJ Duck. So you mean use the drums from the beginning but S4 to the floor? Yeah, because I mean if you listen to, you have the clap or rim shot or whatever that is happening at the same time as the kick there, and I think it sounds great there. So if you just take those sounds and you alter them to be 4 to the floor, the way that you have the drums arranged here, I think that would sound great. And you could make some smaller alterations to those specifically for that section. I think it would sound a bit better than these. But that being said, yeah, just my opinion, so take it with a grain of salt. Cool. Oh, there is a shaker in there. All right. Is that shaker not in the first half? Because to me, it sounds pretty similar. Either way, it's a cool tune. All right, let's move on. Thanks for sharing, DJ Duck. It's a cool tune. What's up, Mantis, and what you got for us? 3. It's so crazy. I remember when Supersonic came out, and I feel like that whole Phrygian vibe became so big in EDM after that. Let's see. All right, let's check it out. What you got for us, Mattism? Got like the rave stab vibe. It's actually got a really cool rhythm. Okay. Definitely feels like your music has started getting heavier. So here's what I'll say. I think that you actually have a knack for, let's say, like arrangement, and kind of like the ebb and flow is there. You know, you got your intro, you have like your first drop, you have this little interlude, second drop that actually, you know, introduces some new elements, an outro. I think that the biggest issue is probably it's a combination of mix and sound design related stuff. So I think that consistently is still probably the thing that kind of is recurring when I hear your submissions. Because you know, like the rhythm, for example, in the drop is actually pretty cool. I like the like, and there's kind of energy right off the bat with the with those kind of like rave stab things going, right? So it kind of already implies that there's going to be something pretty heavy coming up right off the bat. Although I will say, like, this section here, like, you know, I feel like that bass line doesn't really fit the vibe of what you're going for. It's kind of like this like really jumpy bass line that almost feels like it would match a different vibe a little bit better, different genre. Yeah, I think it's really just mix and sound design related issues from my end. I know we briefly talked about this. I think like what is it, last week or something? You mentioned that. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think I remember you mentioning your hearing isn't that great. But we had a brief talk about like, you know, equipment and how much that influences your ability to like mix tracks a certain way. I don't know if you've still been working on you know, doing more like A/B mixing, because that's something that is super important, especially when you're like earlier in your, you know, journey towards like or earlier in the process of music production. I feel like just listening closely and going back and forth between like a song that by an artist that you really like and kind of like trying to analyze and compare, you know, even like choosing a song to recreate and reverse engineer, that's also something that can teach you a lot. So I'm telling you, like, the rhythmically what's happening here, arrangement wise, like you have a lot of the pieces of the puzzle are there, but I think my biggest issue, it's really and it's unfortunately it's kind of distracting in a negative way. So I think that's really something that you should focus on, is the sound design of the mix. And one of the best ways to, it's such a you could talk about that for hours and hours and hours, and you know, the reason I'm keeping it general is because I feel like that's really the best suggestion I have, is just to maybe examine some other like 140 tracks and try to put them side by side yours, or try to reverse engineer them to see how they sound different and where you could potentially make some improvements and stuff. I'm going deaf. Well, I hope you're not being serious about that. I honestly hate using references. Yeah. Well, listen, I have a friend of mine who is quite a successful musician who used to say the same thing. So it's not like it's somehow a requirement. I'm just speaking about, you know, what has helped me as a producer. And, you know, I remember for a long time, I didn't do any reference mixing either. For me, though, once I started listening, you don't have to, you know, go back and forth between songs within a project file, between yours and somebody else's, to kind of like pay attention to the qualities that might feel like they're a bit more professional in someone else's music compared to yours, because even if you're just actively listening and paying really close attention to how other people's music sounds on whatever system you're using to produce, that's really valuable. So that's something that I would just recommend you kind of keep going with. But honestly, yes, I've been taking extremely good care of my ears. Okay, good. All right. Well, thanks for sharing, Mattis, and let's roll on to the next person. Haywyre, are you using IEMs? I am. Yeah. I love how I'm not really sacrificing much in terms of quality. In fact, these might actually be pretty. They're quite accurate. And they're so much lighter than over-the-ear headphones. So I love using them for like longer streams or longer studio sessions. They're easy to travel with, and I really like them. Ever heard of ACS Custom? I believe I have. That sounds familiar. I might be mixing it up with something else, but... All right, what you got for us, Josta?
When you hear the rhythm, start to move.
Interesting. Love that major.
I jumped in to listen to it.
Very cool. I like it. Sick. Cool. Great idea. The arrangement is good. Lots of cool sound design. The mix is quite solid. I think that I'm hearing quite a bit of like stereo in the low end for some in some areas that I'm not too crazy about, but outside of that, I didn't really notice too many things that I wasn't crazy about mix wise. I like the choice of having like the talk box in there, super funky. I think what might be kind of fun, I don't know if you want to try this, but it might be kind of fun to try to introduce a little bit of negative space here and there. So if you were to, that piano chord that's in the background. I have a couple of ideas. One, I'm wondering about like maybe that can be cut up, bounced and cut up in a certain way that makes that drop a little bit more interesting. But the other thought too is that like I don't know do you really want to have a sustained piano playing the same kind of like competing in the same space mix wise and like playing the same kind of like notes as those like tremolo saw chords, because part of me is wondering, like, what if you tried to have the piano match the volume amplitude of those saw chords and kind of introduce a little bit more negative space into that section of the drop. This reminds me of I feel like this is a type of electronic music you really don't hear much anymore. I feel like the whole, like, remember like the Kashmir Cat era. I'm trying to think of what other artists were really big, like, 10, 12 years ago. There's like a lot of melodic electronic music, kind of in this vein, like Lido and stuff like that. That was really big for a time, and like kind of reminds me a bit of Cosmos Midnight too. They're sick. They're still active now, making great tunes. Actually, I feel like there's maybe some overlap there. But either way, it's cool. I wonder if you could just play more with the negative space idea here. I like that switch up. It's interesting. Definitely catches you off guard. Yeah, the more I think about it, the whole stereo thing is tripping me out a little bit. It feels like there's a lot of sounds that are maybe too stereo, or maybe I'm just hearing like too much stereo in the low end. I would consider like taking a closer look at that. Maybe monoing stuff below 200 on the master just to see how it influences the track could be a good idea. And maybe reducing some of the stereo for some moments. I like a lot of the panning though. The panning is cool.
Drop.
I'm thinking about this halftime section. I think that I feel like the groove needs to be a bit more different here.
Drop.
I think that I want you to try something out. Maybe you could replace the hi-hat work you have here and just create a more consistent percussive like hi-hat groove that goes like and then it goes back into the 4 to the floor right after that. I feel like for some reason I don't know I don't know how to explain it. I just feel like some just like a really simple halftime hi-hat groove would sound nice here and would kind of like more quickly communicate with the listener, like, oh shit, we're doing a halftime thing here. Something like that. But anyways, that's all I got. It's a really cool tune. You got a lot of funky tracks, dude. You better be releasing these. I see this is private. Oh yeah, even Zed had a little melodic funk era. It's true, yeah. You mean having the piano follow the swung rhythm of the saws? Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what I'm saying. All right, let's move on to the next. See you later, Morph. Hopefully I'm not too late there. I am going to hit the BR super quick, so bear with me here. I'm going to put on a tune here while I'm gone. Little intermission track, and I will be right back. Boom. Be right back. Let's get back into it. Thanks for waiting there for a minute. I almost accidentally stopped the stream for some reason. All right, let's see. Crusoe, what's going on? Let's grab this link and listen to it. Giving me anime episode outro vibes.
You won't let me be. I can't forget the starry way you looked at me. Inside the mirror, I don't know if I can see. Each time you slip out of the way, I just don't know if I should stay for all your promises. Words
raindrops always falling in the corner of my room, wondering where the time has gone as flowers start to bloom. I don't know what happened, but you started to ignore me. Got nothing but the shadow of yourself, but that's my story. Don't tell me lies, I'd rather say goodbye. I think for everything that happened, there's a reason why. I wish you wouldn't cry. Every good day goes by, and if you need me, we can try again a second time.
I'll slow the whole world down for you. If you want me to. If you want me to. I'll fill your whole heart for you. If you want me to. If you want me to. If you want me to. If you want me to.
Cool. Very cool. I like it a lot. Kind of reminds me of a mixture of Porter and Sun Holo and wait, who else was I thinking of? There was another artist that kind of like popped into mind that I felt could have been an influence potentially for this track. But either way, yeah, it feels very wholesome and intimate and cool arrangement. It's like it kind of ebbs and flows in some unexpected ways. You know, kind of like have this moment here where it gets really dry for a moment, and you kind of are left wondering, okay, what's about to happen here? It almost feels like it could get pretty heavy there, and it's cool to introduce another voice at that point. So a lot of interesting things happening. I think that I most enjoyed probably just the attention to detail in terms of I don't know exactly how to put it. Like, I think the writing and the there's just nice little moments and transitions, and there's a lot of it's just got like a nice ebb and flow. So lots of cool stuff going on. I think some small things that I noticed is that I felt that so I'm guessing the female singer is Beans, or it sounds female to me at least. And maybe the other voice is you. I don't really know for sure. It could be the other way around too. But either way, what sounds like a female vocal to me here. There are some moments where the pitch feels like a little bit kind of not quite right. It's nothing major, but something where like even just running a few more. Like punch in a few more takes of certain little phrases probably could have been nice.
Oh, if I should stay for all your promises, you won't let me be. I can't forget the starry way you looked at me. Inside the mirror, I don't know if I can see. Each time you slip out of the way, slip out of the way.
Also, I was gonna say too that the vocal writing is the like that really intimate kind of tone, and also just kind of like the writing in general, I think, is quite catchy. Like the dun 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 is cool, and then also like what I guess would be like the hook or whatever, the "Want Me To" thing is great too. I think that what I was hearing, I was re-listening to the intro. I wasn't really hearing anything that stood out to me necessarily pitch-wise there or performance-wise. But some of these sliding it's hard to get that super accurate, right? Because like obviously the part of the character of this is like the do 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 do. But I think that it could have been dialed a little bit more in some of these areas where like the emphasis is not quite at the right pitch there when the voice is going back down to that C. But that's kind of like, it's a bit nitpicky, obviously. That being said, the vocals are a huge part of the song, right? They're what kind of gives it that charm. So it's worth being nitpicky about things like that. And actually, there's another comment I was going to make about the vocals over here in this section.
Raindrops always falling in the corner of my room.
I think the tone is nice. I don't know if that's your voice or not, but I like it. But my biggest gripe with the lyrics here is they feel too robotic. It feels a little bit like quarter note, quarter note, quarter note, quarter note, quarter note, quarter note, quarter note. And some of that obviously works with the writing that's there, but I think just more because it is such a stripped down, vulnerable song, right? So I think like it would be nice to hear a little more variation and not just have these words that are being said like a metronome, like da 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 da, you know. And I'm exaggerating, obviously, because the voice sounds good and pitch is good. But yeah, I just think some more variation there would be really nice to add a little more humanness. And that was my biggest thing for that section. Oh yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Elenium was another reference that I felt like might be in the mix as well. I'm kind of hearing like this marriage of Porter, San Holo, and Elenium a little bit. You know, kind of like this, like that poppy vibe, but with Porter's kind of like, you know, intimate, vulnerable touch, and then here it kind of gets a little bit San Holo-y at the end here.
If you want me to. If you want me to.
And there's a lot of good stuff happening here. I think there probably could have been room for a little more just ear candy, attention to detail, little things, because it feels like the core is there. It's like the foundation is good, and it feels really gratifying to hear kind of like this more grandiose ending to the song, where the rest of it has been very like acoustic and like lots of vocals. And here now we are arriving at this section where it's just a bit more grandiose and it feels good.
To. If you want me to.
And the drum fills and stuff, and the arrangement and the sound selection, it works. It does just feel a little bit like it could have used a little more injection of character. It feels like it's produced like objectively it doesn't sound bad, right? But I wish there was a little more personality kind of popping through here in terms of, you know, maybe maybe the sound design or maybe, well, yeah, actually, I mean, even just sound design wise, it would have been nice to hear maybe some things that feel a little more specific to you. And obviously I don't know your music super well or anything, but just some food for thought. It felt like a great foundation, but maybe there's room to get a little more lean into the grandioseness more and bring out some flavors that are unique to you. But anyways, that's all I got for you. Hopefully that gives you some insight into things that you could apply for the next track. Oh, great. Yeah, for sure. Yo, thank you for the sub. Kate and Scully, I appreciate it. Good to see you here. Thanks for the vinyl. Nice. I didn't realize that you had ordered one. Of course, I'm glad it arrived. And Madion, yeah, for sure. Porter is definitely my biggest inspo. Nice, and I like Elenium and San too. Nice, and Madion for sure. Cool. All right, let's move on to the next person. What's going on, Groovy Music? I feel like we're at the point in the feedback stream now where we might start running into people who are potentially not in the chat anymore because they've had to wait for quite a while. So I don't blame anyone for stepping away or not waiting around. Okay, we're going to assume that Groovy is not here. I don't see him in the users list. Okay, well, thanks for checking. What's up, Nahi? 7,200. We got a new follower. Yo, thank you for the follow. Erlyn. I don't know exactly how to say her username. We got a new follower. And thank you for the follow, Audio D&B. Okay, we got a Google Drive link here. Let's check it out. See what we're working with. Oh, I don't have access via this link, so maybe if you have mixed on my PC speaker, it's not good. That's an interesting way to preface your track for feedback. But to be fair, that's the old meme, right? When artists are sharing music with each other, it's like, oh, it's not, you know, I still got to replace this part, and this thing sucks, and the mix is bad, but yeah, here it is. Trust me, I'm making fun of myself here too because I do this all the time. It's my first time here, and I'm kind of confused. No worries. Do you have, for example, if you have a SoundCloud account, you can upload a track privately to SoundCloud, and then you can share it with me that way instead of making it public. I'm not sure how to make it accessible publicly for Google Drive, but if you want... The hell? Okay, random hype train. But we can circle back to you and then give you some time to figure that out, because that might take a moment, it sounds like. So why don't we move on and find someone else, and we'll come back to you, Nahi, okay? All right, what's up, Who is Kai? Oh, it works now? Okay, hold on. Give me a brief moment here. I actually think Who is Kai might be AFK anyway, so it's all good. Link works? Okay, perfect. Nice, that worked out. All right, let's check this out. New funk beat I tried. What a title. All right. All right. Cool. I like it. It's got a nice vibe to it. I like when you switch it up to that G flat minor. Cool. Yeah, honestly, it feels like a good foundation. I would just keep going with it. You know, the world is your oyster. You know, start introducing some hi-hats. Maybe experiment with some horn stab samples or yeah, whatever you want. You could have a little breakdown section where you get crazy with the chords. And then you get back into the main groove again. But yeah, whatever you want to do, man. It feels to me like there's not too much to give feedback on because it's still quite early in the whatever songwriting process, production process. Harry Muffin, thank you for the follow. Tell him I shared the wrong one. Oh wait, this is the right one. Wait. Okay. All right, we'll listen to this one too then. I like it. Yeah, nice. Well, they're both funky. I like them both. This one's got a little bit of a different feel to it. The kick is a lot less mid-heavy, so it feels less like dance floor-ish and more like random access memories kind of vibes a little bit. And versus this one felt like it was leaning a little bit more towards like a house funk kind of energy because of that kick drum. But yeah, this one's a bit quiet, which I did notice right away, but I'm just gonna take that aspect out of the equation. So I'm not gonna give feedback on that. But I like the vocal chops. You know, this is giving me kind of like a Oliver Nelson vibes too a bit. I I feel like he could be a good reference point. Hey, what's up, Wizzle? S or YSC. Thank you for the subscription. Which, by the way, guys, I just want to say this again. For Feedback Fridays, the raffle is not influenced by subscription follows or anything. So everybody has the same chance of being selected by the raffle engine. But yeah, I mean, in terms of feedback, I would say it just feels underdeveloped a bit. You know, you have a lot of core elements here that are sounding great, and I like the chord progression. I like the choices you're making. But yeah, you're just early on with this one as well. You can tell it's a sketch still. I like that little riff. Also, I will say that bass sample library thing, it does sound like it's sitting a bit on top of the mix compared to everything else. So just something to take into consideration. But yeah, I mean, to me, it sounds like you have a good foundation here. And I would just keep developing it, you know? Like I was saying with this other idea, you know, the world is your oyster. Yeah, I would just keep working on it. Just keep adding new things, new sections, experimenting with different sounds. And, you know, one thing that helps with tracks like this too is, you know, it has a little bit of it feels almost like something that, you know, a band might put together, right? You have, you know, you got your drummer, you got your bassist, you got like a synth player and stuff. So, what you could try to do is like put on like the drummer's hat, right? Just pretend you're the drummer for a little bit and ignore everything else, and just focus on that one layer and think about like, okay, maybe there's room for a little bit more action here, or more variation, right? Like, okay, let's try to switch up the groove here a little bit, or add a fill in this section. And, you know, obviously with something like funky and catchy like this, you don't want to overcomplicate it. But that being said, there's that fine line between kind of boring and repetitive and excessively active and superfluous. And, you know, when you're doing something catchy, it's important to know where you want to land on that spectrum. And it's possible that there's room for a little bit more action in this one. And I would say, too, from a processing and a mixing perspective, everything feels very, dry. Like, it's kind of just, it sounds like things are kind of, like, just straight up samples, not much kind of, like, processing and gluing things together in the mix. It feels very kind of unprocessed and unmixed, which is not a problem, obviously, when you're kind of, like, earlier in the process. But I would just, try to get into that aspect a little more and find ways to glue these sounds together and process them in interesting ways, and maybe throw a limiter on your master as well. All right, let's move on to the next person. And thanks for sharing, by the way. It's a great tune. What up, DJ Transponder? How's it going? Let's see what you got for us today. All right, what do we got here? Bonebreaker.
what you thought. Gripping wood grain, lane to lane on the boulevard. Play with my paper, homie, it's gonna be an issue.
Sick.
Ain't no back and forth down here, it's official. In my mouth, shine hard, don't know what you thought. Gripping wood grain, lane to lane on the boulevard. Play with my paper, homie, it's gonna be an issue. Ain't no back and forth down here, it's official. What you thought, yeah, it's official. What you thought, yeah, it's official.
Sick. All right. It's a cool tune. Definitely feel like it has a solid structure. It mixes good, and I feel like the sound design is quite solid. I think that in the intro I was getting like Freddie Dredd vibes a little bit with the vocals and the kind of like hip hop vibes. Maybe not so much here. Yeah, here when it goes into straight, kind of like instead of like the swung vibe. So, I will admit I'm not super crazy about UKG. So, you know, even though I think you've done a good job with this tune, it's not like my favorite genre of EDM. So take that into account. But let's see. So I think the thing that I was maybe gonna suggest as a feedback note. Let's see. There's some kind of quality about that main sustained bass that hits on the downbeat. It feels a little bit atonal. I can hear the sub, and obviously I can hear that like a lot of the bass is definitely it's hitting that D. I can hear it. Yo, what's up, Marco Polo? Thank you for the raid. But I think that there's some kind of atonal quality in there that's making it a little bit harder to hear what frequency or note that is exactly. I'm not too crazy about that aspect of it. I can't place my finger on what effect might be causing that. Maybe it's like a comb filter, like kind of creating these peaks in areas where it's creating harmonics that feel like they're not really in the right sequence to work with that D. But anyways, that's one thing I noticed, and it's not some kind of like world-ending issue or anything like that. But I did notice that. That could be part of the creative decision of that sound design as well, obviously. It's really well done, honestly. There's a lot of great fills in the track and such. I think for me the biggest issue is just the well, like I said, I'm not super crazy about UKG, but I can tell it's really well done, and I think for me the issue is more just some of the sound design choices. There's a lot of great fills, a lot of great ebb and flow. also am not sure about the decision there to have that kind of like that melody or sorry, there's some kind of synth layer in there that's normally playing in the downbeats and then stops. And you have it here in the switch up. You have it playing that rhythm with the bass. So it's like ba ba beep beep beep. I'm not super convinced by that part either. The thing is, it does create like some contrast to the first drop, so it works in that sense. But I'm not super crazy about that choice. I feel like there's probably a more interesting way to kind of like introduce some new sound design and rhythmic elements there. I would have really loved to hear this kind of like a straight quarter notes flow. I would have really loved to hear that like kind of straight flow again for a little bit somewhere. Yeah, like I said, like a lot of your fills and stuff are great. There's I feel like you obviously understand like structure and when to simplify things, and obviously like those fills right before the drop. It's really fun to just like, you can kind of go crazy with it. You do pretty much whatever you want, and it just needs to be, I guess. It needs to contrast with what's about to happen in the drop. So, anyways, it's obviously really well done. So I don't really have too much else to say, just because it's not like my forte, I guess. But that's just some random little things that popped out to me. I do think that like I said, the arrangement is good. A lot of the mix decisions and sound design is good as well. But there was some sound design that I wasn't too crazy about, and I'm actually just not like the biggest fan of UKG as well. So, but loudest track ever. It's a flat beat. Mr. Ozzy. Oh, word. Okay, cool. Thanks for sharing, man. I always appreciate the stuff that you're working on. I feel like you're. I remember when Matzo invited me to go on a tour with him. It was my first tour ever back in 2014, and I think he had heard Twofold Part 1, and he said in a press, there was like some interview or something, like they're asking him why he chose to, ask me to come on tour, and he was like, Haywyre is definitely not like a one-trick pony, and you can hear in Matt's output that he appreciates variety, and I appreciate variety a lot too, so I like hearing you take risks and try different genres. I've heard a lot of different stuff from you, so keep it going. All right, let's roll on to the next person. What's up, Audion? What you got for us? You have D&B in your name, so you have to submit drum and bass. That's how it works, right? Yeah, no worries. I'm just making terrible dad jokes over here. My dad's in town visiting right now, and I think he's rubbing off on me. Wait, what? Did you just? I think you gave me the wrong link, or am I tripping here? What? Wait, no. Sorry, that might be my fault. It was my fault. Okay, sorry. Wait, I think I've heard this vocal before. Cool. I feel like I just went back 30 years. I do enjoy trance. I don't really listen to it very much at all, but I dig it. There's some cool stuff going on. Like I like the some of the sound design elements, like some of that background pad around here that comes in. Reminds me of like those PlayStation startup sounds and stuff. That whole aesthetic, I feel like I really enjoy. So in terms of feedback, I don't know. I like I said, I don't listen to a ton of trance. I know that trance is kind of like it tends to be kind of like a longer format, slow transitions that happen over longer periods of time with like more minimal variation. I do feel like, one thing I noticed is that when I was playing some of those like really washed out reverby piano things, it does feel like there's maybe some more room for just like atmospheric sound design, those kind of things. And the vocal, wait, that's right. Is the vocal from another song, or am I tripping? It's a vocal from Splice. Okay. I swear I've heard that at some point somewhere. So yeah, I guess it shouldn't surprise me then that it's a. I thought maybe this was like maybe a bootleg of a track, but yeah, okay, that makes sense. But yeah, I don't know. What kind of feedback do I have, dude? I'm kind of stumped here a little bit. But besides that, part of me did imagine it could be cool to have a section where it gets really simplistic, and maybe it's like just a kick drum and some bass or something like that. I don't know. Maybe there's a place for that, because you do have that in the intro sort of, but I'm kind of imagining, I was kind of hearing like maybe a section where it feels like the bass isn't cut off. It's not like a high pass or anything like that. There's like more of a fuller sounding, the full spectrum kind of bass pluck sound design, along with the kick drum. But I don't know. It's just a random suggestion that I'll throw out there. I don't really have too much else to add here. I like the vibe. I like the track. Definitely feels like it's got like this intentional, like old school trance feeling to it. You know, like I if I heard this on Spotify, it wouldn't surprise me if I went and looked and saw that the release date was like in the 90s or something like that. There's a lot of pop music too from the was it early 2000s and late 90s that I feel like had like this kind of feeling to it with like pop female vocals on top. And it's a vibe. So anyways, thanks for sharing, man. It's a cool tune. Appreciate it. What's up, Harry Muffin Man? What a name. Oh. Let's check this out. YouTube? What in the world am I about to watch here?
No man turned bandit. From the world I'm supposed to explore, things seem like magic. Till the curtains open, now you saw. But don't think that magic. Keep that childlike wonder raw. So let's keep dancing. Till our bodies drop to the floor. The mask gon' just take one off. Now the band is found with a no man's lost. Cause it's hard to burn bright when the world turn frost. You ain't melt shit, just energy lost. I see the homie flip script we were praising, just to blend in like good foundation. Make shit up to explain that placement. But I know it's fear is laced in. But fuck that back on my island, mask on wildin'. Do the most, they pretend that the gaps on silent, but they ain't no gaps on timing. So if you ain't clock, just watch. Against all odds, wanna cope in the rock. Guess the vert on lock, cause I know who I am when the curtain drop. No man turned bandit. From the world I'm supposed to explore, things seem like magic. Till the curtains open, now you saw. But don't think that magic. Keep that childlike wonder raw. So let's keep dancing. Till our bodies drop to the floor. Take the mask off so you see what I'm on. Cause the bandit moves with a nomad wand. Cause the curtain pulled in a fantasy fold. Type of shit make you question your role. Don't rely on what I fate on my own. So when I swallow tough pills and a child ain't choking. And that's real growth, man. Growth, man. Growth, man. Growth, man. The fantasy clean and I let him in absorb new game. That sun and my melanin challenge. The grain just one of my fetishes and when it pays off, that's something I relish in. No man turned bandit. From the world I'm supposed to explore, things seem like magic. Till the curtains open, now you saw. But don't think that magic. Keep that childlike wonder raw. So let's keep dancing. Till our bodies drop to the floor. Let your body drive. Let your body drive. Let your body drive.
Cool. I mean, I like a lot of the editing. And the track feels very unique. I like that it kind of goes back and forth between this really like the less melodic, harmonically rich stuff where it goes like, and then it kind of like randomly goes into these kind of jazzy electric piano chords. Something like that. I don't know exactly, but actually, I liked some of the editing quite a bit. I feel like it's shot well. I mean, some cool transitions going on. Yeah, it's a well done music video. I like it, and the track is cool. It's really unique stuff. Joe Joss, I have not heard of you before, but I appreciate you sharing the tune. I honestly, I don't really know what kind of I rap, produced, and shot and edited the video. Oh, hell yeah! Wait, how did you? Oh, you okay? I could see it. I guess the camera isn't moving very much. I was gonna say like, damn, dude, how did you shoot all this? But that's rad, dude. Well, really well done. Tripod, yeah, for sure. Nice. Hell yeah. Harry Muffin Man. I hope you share some other stuff with us in the near future. I like that track. All right, let's move on. Let's check out what else we got today. Yeah, one man team is pretty crazy. What's up, Noxel? What you got for us today? How to join queue. Rabba, if you want to join queue, you just type !join. And that automatically enters you into a raffle with anyone else whose name is in there as well. What you got for us, Noxel? Haywyre, do you feel your productions would be completely of different quality if you were not musically trained? I'm not sure exactly how to answer that because I think it would have changed my music if I didn't have formal education, but it wouldn't have changed it in a way that would have made it, better or worse, I don't think. I mean, there's no objective better or worse anyways, but I don't know how much of an impact or influence that ultimately had on what I created. Because at the end of the day, like, that drive that and the passion that I have for music exists regardless of like my my technical or academic musical training. And honestly, I was never very successful in the academic side of music anyways. I was like a average piano player pretty much my entire life. And, anytime I was in a school or a conservatory or something like that, like I never looked at myself as like a particularly talented pianist compared to other people. And when it came to music theory, I was like, okay, I think the one place where I maybe excelled at when I think about it academically was maybe like ear training or something like that. But a lot of other classes, I was just straight up bad at. I remember taking like a form and composition course, and I never failed a class, but that one I think I almost failed because it was just like it just bored the hell out of me. But yeah, I don't know. So I feel like it would have changed my music, but I think that I still would have probably ended up creating relatively similar stuff. I had a similar career. All right, let's check this out. What you got for us, Noxel? Triplet Thing. What a track name. We need more triplet electronic music. Very cool. Yeah, there's some good stuff going on here. I feel like I like that little melody you have. I like the composition of the song overall. Some nice variation going on, both in terms of like chord progressions and sound design and some of the switch ups in terms of percussion. It's cool. I'm trying to think about what kind of feedback to give here. It feels I definitely know. I feel like I could definitely recognize your music, even with your production here being a little bit different than what I've heard, slightly different from what I've heard in the past from you. I actually think that, one thing that I think I told you when you started submitting stuff for Feedback Fridays initially is that it felt like, your drums were a bit thin and kind of like lacking mids, and it feels like you do not have that issue in this track, that's for sure. The drum style reminds me a little bit of like Oliver here in the intro. Or is it? Very punchy. The transients come through nicely, and I think it complements the triplet flow. One thing I will say is that it's working quite well here, and then it feels like that they get kind of drowned out a little bit. So sometimes it can be hard for elements like drums to maintain the right presence in the mix throughout a song because of, let's say like making sure sidechain routing settings and various other elements are kind of being changed appropriately as the song is progressing and stuff. But like here, it might be that you're just switching to different sounds, but the presence of like this clap in the intro, it's got a really nice sharp transient that kind of like pops in the mids. It's got a strong presence in the mix. And then we go to this section here. You see how much lower the presence is and the volume is of that snare or clap or whatever is going on there. I think that I like the idea of switching it up, but if you are, I would try to maybe you could try to isolate the mix in that mid range and see how you can get your clap and snare here to kind of like make sure it's matching, let's say, the volume first that the clap has here in the intro, and then from there, if you were to mute, let's say like a mid pass in the master from there, then maybe try altering the sound design to make sure it fits in the mix overall. But I do think that it just needs to have it needs to kind of match the presence that this has, especially because this is more of an intro groove, and then the feeling that this has is a bit more dramatic, right? So generally speaking, like obviously if emotionally the intensity of a song is heightened and you have the drums, you'd want, if anything, the drums to maybe have a stronger presence as the intensity rises. And I think that the snare obviously goes kind of like the opposite direction there. And there are some other like minor mix things, but again, I wanna applaud you for, I think, like finding a way to work around what I would see as like was a little bit of a mix issue for you in the past, is like getting like those like some of that drum sound design to sit well in your mix and to work well. But there's some other elements like this little riff here. Where is it? Right there. Like it's definitely too loud, and also could use quite a bit of maybe some multi-band compression or spectral compression or whatever. You could throw a soothe on there. That would probably do the trick as well. But definitely turn it down as well. another thing I was gonna say in terms of the mix. It seems to me that like actually the mix might be kind of one of the most consistent things that I feel like I talk about with your tracks, because obviously you don't struggle with like writing melodies, chord progressions, or arrangement. So, and you have a decent amount of variety in your tunes. But yeah, I think that like I think that seems to be the thing that I come back to somewhat consistently when it comes to giving you feedback. So this section, another thing I was going to say here, that it feels like that's that saw wave-esque patch that's hitting on its own, that the G flat, that needs to hit way harder. I think that it sounds like it's being high passed, like it doesn't have low end. It also should probably be a bit more present in the mix overall. And then I think it would sound really good if it's just kind of like brought forward a bit more and it fills out the low end a bit more. Because I like the idea of what you're going for here. You're kind of like creating this ascending chord progression, and it's adding some momentum to the track, and it's like taking it somewhere new. And I feel like you could kind of treat this as like maybe like a triplet complex stroke kind of thing, where you want to make sure you're filling out a lot of the spaces. Like whenever there are elements playing, you want those elements to really be extremely present in the mix. And this is how I'm hearing this section, at least. You want them to be really present in the mix and filling up the spectrum a lot, while keeping the drums very consistently at that same volume level and sidechaining pretty much everything. I like the switch up here too with the drums in the middle. And I like this reverse bit crush thing that's going on there too. But yeah, lots of great stuff going on, man. I really like your you have a very unique approach. So I feel like I can always recognize your tunes when I hear them. All right, let's keep going. Thanks, Noxel. Appreciate it. All right, Control 4, if you're still here, you've been waiting for 2.5 hours. And wait, how long have you been here, Falcon Music? You've been here for a hot minute too. Two hours? Well, there's not many people left. I think Control 4 may be gone. We may have lost him. 2 hours too? Damn. Is Q closed? No, technically not. I am probably gonna wrap up here pretty soon. Damn, I feel bad for Control 4, and we'll just have to keep moving. All right, let's roll on to the next person. What's up, BCZ Dexter? It's still not Falcon Music. That's kind of hilarious. Did you just join? Is the queue closed? That's hilarious. I'm sorry, it happens sometimes. It's not a perfect system, but it is kind of funny. Let's check this out. What are we working with? Sweet. It's a really fun tune. There's a lot of cool cool edits. I like it. It's an interesting choice to go halftime. I was kind of expecting something like 4 to the floor. Well, hold on. What am I saying? It was halftime. Obviously, it's 4 to the floor here. But yeah, very cool. I think there's some cool stuff going on. I like the structure. I think what I liked the most was just kind of like the attention to detail and all the little edits and moments and sound designs, little things going on. I like that a lot. I think that for me, the biggest issue is probably like mix. I feel like that's the place that the track is falling short. And it's not one specific thing. I think it's a combination of different mix issues that I'm kind of seeing that are kind of culminating into just kind of like the overall picture I'm getting is that I feel like the mix is maybe the place that the area that needs the most work. Like to me, for example, like this, the processing on these vocals is quite unpleasant, and it feels like it's it's tough because I do think that distorted vocals are a really awesome tool to have in your production arsenal, and there's ways to pull it off. It might be that maybe I'm hearing like I think that it's possible there's a range in the mids somewhere there, maybe upper mids, where I think I might need to be like multiband compressed a little bit more carefully. It's just kind of like sticking out in a not so pleasant way. And this is, I'm just like throwing out random things that I noticed. Like I said, there's no one single thing that I noticed that bothered me or anything like that. Mix-wise, just a combination of little things like that. And here too, like I'm thinking about this drop because like I feel like it's very like low mids and low end heavy. There's basically like no audible cymbals here. There is there. I'm hearing them there. But I feel like the high end is really being ignored in this drop quite a bit. And it's not somehow automatically a bad thing if like you have more of a lo-fi oriented mix style. But I don't know. To me, it feels like that there should be a little bit less emphasis on the low end and maybe some more high end ear candy. I just feel like it's a little bit of a missed opportunity potentially. The thing is with this drop style, obviously you're playing around with a lot of like stuttering and choppy things, and that isn't going to work if you have obviously like these really big crashes sitting on top just chilling out. So I understand for this kind of like a that style of drop where you want to be able to hear the silence when the sound design is stopping, whether it's like the chords or the drums or something. It's cool to hear the effect of like these motifs playing and then hearing like the silence. So I get that, but it does still feel like the high end should kind of play a little bit more of a bigger role in the track. And I think for the second half of the drop, you could get away with introducing some hi-hat patterns. And it doesn't have to be anything like super simple. You could definitely keep it interesting. But something that grounds the rhythm a bit more. Because there's a lot of fills and a lot of edits happening. It'd be nice to have something like just something that kind of like adds those eighth notes in the high end somewhere. Just some food for thought. I don't know if that would work for sure, but yeah. And this section is cool. I like the idea here a lot. I think that it could be helpful to. My first thought was to maybe reference for a mix for this section specifically, maybe like a Knock 2 track, because I feel like even though Knock 2 is definitely has a lot of music that's a lot more aggressive. I think that it could be helpful as a reference mix potentially. But the other thing too is that I think you have some elements in this part of the drop that are bleeding over. Like they have these reverb tails, and some of them I don't think need to have them here. I think this section could be sometimes it's better to cut those reverb tails off in drops because it kind of I don't know. It just works. In my opinion, it can help. Not always, but it's something worth considering and experimenting with for sure if you aren't already doing that. But yeah, it's a really cool tune. I love all the attention to detail and all the fills. So yeah, thanks for sharing. All right, let's do. Let's do. Oh my gosh, what's up, Whizzle? I'm gonna try to go for like 10 more minutes here. Why is it this happens sometimes, I swear. But I don't know, Whizzle, I don't know if Whizzle is here. We'll see. We'll give them another 20 seconds here, and then we'll re-roll if they don't respond with the track. Oh, damn, he came in last minute. I was about to re-roll. It's like an infrared picture of a bird flock or something. It's cool. Very existential. I'm pretty sure I remember one of your other submissions was, I might be wrong, but uh I like your I feel like you have a flair or a knack for like experimental stuff. And I enjoyed this. At first it kind of felt like I'm tripping out a little bit. It's got an interesting feeling. It's got like this repetitive groove to it with a sub, and all the like Foley and sound design and stuff. It's pretty interesting. And it definitely I do like ambient music a lot. I don't listen to it all the time, but it just gets you in a certain headspace. You know, it makes you think about it interacts with your brain very differently than, you know, highly commercial music, where it's like it's meant to entertain you and wow you and be like, look at this, here, listen to that, and like, whoa, this is a cool sound you never heard before. Now listen to this gorgeous voice, and boom boom bap ding ding bam bam bam, you know. And this is just it's refreshing is all I'm trying to say. It's nice to hear something different, and I like that it really encourages you to kind of like look inward. It's one of the things I like about ambient music. And it I could see myself wanting to listen to this on a nice like walk around the neighborhood. But yeah, thanks for sharing. I don't really have any feedback because I honestly just don't think it's really relevant. I feel like with something like this, it's just not yeah, that there's nothing I could say that would somehow have helped you make something quote unquote better. I don't really feel like that applies here. You're doing your thing, and it's got a cool vibe. I like it. All right, let's roll on to the next person. Look at that. See, you didn't have to sub. See what I'm saying? Is Perillion still here, or did Perillion leave? I feel like Perillion may have left too. Oh, you're still here. Hey, did you know that Noxel's from France as well? I don't know if you knew that. Yeah, Perillion, you should hit him up. Cool. There's some good stuff going on here. I like the drop drums. And I'm not sure where the vocal is from. I'm not seeing like a featuring in the title or anything like that. So I'm assuming maybe it's like a splice vocal or something like that. But I like the whispery tone of it. It's kind of cool. Might be cool to reach out if it is a splice vocal. It might be cool to like reach out to a vocalist and have them like do an actual top line on this, because yeah, I think that could be cool. Splice, gotcha, yeah. So first time I'm trying to make heavy drum and bass. So I was gonna say I feel that the drum sound design is great. I like that a lot. The mix is pretty good too. I think that in terms of the bass sound design, it kind of was blending between bass and melodic sound design. It was interesting, but I feel like I would have liked to hear a section in the drop that was just kind of focused on just heavy bass sound design with the drums, and not something that's focusing on playing melodic riffs quite as much. I think that, for example, I think there could be room to do like an A and B type of thing where you keep roughly something similar to what you have here. And then you switch it up here. I don't know. It feels like almost a little bit too melodic. Obviously, there's plenty of melodic drum and bass too, but it feels like it's living in this kind of in between twilight zone a little bit, where it sounds like it's wanting to be like heavy drum and bass while also wanting to be melodic, and it feels like it's in kind of like this weird gray area. So that's why I was suggesting that maybe like you could turn it into like a little bit of an A and B thing, where it's got like some of those more melodic movements in the bass sound, and then it kind of switches over to something more aggressive and something that isn't bouncing around different MIDI notes quite as much. But that was one thing that kind of popped into my mind. And yeah, actually, I think it definitely feels like the kind of song that could be fun to have maybe a collaborative vocalist on top. There's definitely and that's the thing, you never know when you introduce something like that into a track. You never know, it might bring up totally new ideas in how to approach sound design or how to approach the track in general. But I also really like this section here. Another thing I would encourage you to try is if you are going like the heavy route, maybe try to do a drop version where it's not so it's I think it's going something like that. It's like the E minor, and then it's just moving up the Roman numerals. Yeah, so I would try to encourage you to just experiment with creating a drop where you're focused on staying like on the E as your tonal center, and you're not moving up. Instead, you're just staying on the E, and maybe you're kind of moving around on occasion with some fills and stuff, but you're largely staying around that tonal center. I'd be curious if that kind of sparks any ideas as well, because sometimes, I mean, yeah, a lot of drum and bass tends to, I feel like, not have quite that much harmonic movement or melodic movement in the drops, and it kind of changes the focus a little bit. If I were to take a stab at or a guess at why that is, it's like, if let's say you want the focus to be on the the aggression and the energy from the drums and those kind of things when you're introducing like new chords, then it can maybe shift the emphasis a little bit to, and it changes the like emotional tone as well. But anyways, just some food for thought. Nothing particular like super helpful, but also finishing out the structure of the full song could be helpful as well. But maybe you want to focus first on getting what you have right here, sounding like more polished. So I totally understand. I completely get what you mean. I was just afraid of being too atonal. That's fair. I hear you. All right, y'all. Let's see. It is 4:00. So honestly, I think I'm gonna call it here for today. I've been live for like 3 hours. I apologize to the people I didn't get to, especially Perillian, because I know you've been chilling here for a hot minute. I tried to do what I could. I know I almost made it to the end. But yeah, I hope you guys have a solid rest of your day. Yo, thank you for the follow. Acid Burn, I appreciate it. And I'll be back on Sunday. Yeah, appreciate y'all. Take care. I'll see you soon.